Hey y'all, it's me Alex. Today I'm doing a video on all of my favorite eyeshadow palette color stories. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that these are the best formulas in my collection by any means. Some of these I have some serious gripes about, but I saw Julie Mazzucato do this video, and I think Abby Williamson has also done something very similar, and I thought it would be really fun because I love me a good color story. That's what I have a lot of in my collection. So I have a few bigger palettes and a couple mini palettes. I love talking about eyeshadow. Eyeshadow is my favorite, as you can probably tell by everything that I'm about to show you. So I don't feel like I need much more of an introduction than that, so I'm just gonna get into it. I'm gonna begin with the two that I have from the same brand. I'll go with the one that is on my eyes right now, and that's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. I just filmed to get ready with me using this. I think that's probably going to go up after this video. But I'm mostly just wearing All Star, Roxy, and Cube. I supplemented it with a shimmer shadow from the Strobe Cosmetics Moonfall Trio. And I really love this color story. I haven't used this palette in a long time, but I'm breaking it back out once again because I did want to test it out because I have the original formula for this one. And I've been insisting over the years that, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that hard to work with. It's difficult. It's difficult to work with, but all things considered, it is a very, very good palette. You just really need to know your color theory because, you know, not all of the things can blend together super easily with this, and that's okay. Sometimes things don't always work out. These are definitely very, very pigmented shadows, but mostly what I love is that this kind of color palette is basically kind of what my wardrobe looks like, and that's going to be a common theme with this and a couple other palettes that I'm including, just because I find that this is so easy to pair with a lot of the clothes that I own. I love, love, love earth tones. Earth tones and jewel tones I feel like are the most flattering for me personally. I especially think that these are really flattering for brown eyes, and a lot of the color stories that I often find really pretty don't quite work for my eye color. Like, I love how pastels look like in an eyeshadow palette, but I don't feel like they look super flattering on me. And I think that this translates very, very well to the face, especially for more editorial, autumnal, grungy type looks. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if the way I'm describing things makes sense, but it's been a minute since I filmed, so. And the other palette that I'm including from Anastasia Beverly Hills is the ABH and Jackie Aina palette. These are also just, this is my favorite Anastasia palette of all time because this one, I think the shadows are significantly easier to work with than the Subculture palette. I love this color story. This was my palette of the year basically last year. I think that this is absolutely beautiful. I feel like everything goes together very well. It's very cohesive and you can get some very, very neutral looks out of it. But I especially love like this little area of like the pinks and purples and reds. If you can't tell by what's on my face right now, I love pinks and reds and purples. So I think that this is super fun because you can get a very, very colorful look, very, very neutral look, or kind of a combination of the two. Like, I haven't tried any color combination from this that like looks bad. So I think that this is also a very, very beautiful color story, and it's also really nice if you are someone who is more of a neutral lover but wants to kind of get into more colorful shades, because I noticed that like a lot of the half neutral, half colorful palettes kind of like lean on the blue and green side of like colors and then very neutral on the other side, and I don't personally think that goes very well together, but colorful shades that are more like pink, purple, red I feel go a lot better with like brownie neutrals. This one is more on the jewel toned end. This is the Pinky Rose Exotic Peacock palette. I got this last spring and I think that it is absolutely gorgeous. Like I said before, earth tones and jewel tones I find to be the most flattering on my eyes and on my face. When I look at this, I'm able to see so many different color combinations, and even though it's not kind of laid out in a gradient, you can pretty easily see what you can put together. So you have like some pinks and purples, but overall you have a lot more like blues and greens. And I really especially like the juxtaposition of the really like vivid pigments of like the blues and the greens, but also having a few more like muted shades like Risque and Honey and Erotic. That way you can get a more earthy tone look if you like. But I feel like these colors all really work well together. I love peacock toned shades. I think that is a beautiful color combination, and kind of blues, greens, and purples are all very much in my wheelhouse for the kinds of like eyeshadow that I wear. And yeah, I'm trying to think, what else can I say about this? The shadow quality is pretty good too. It's like not my favorite formula of all time, but I think it's pretty darn good. Okay, now another palette. This one should be very, very expected if you saw my last favorites video, and that is the Melt Cosmetics Muerte palette. I'm gonna hold it up like this because you can see the skull, and I did a 3 looks on palette with this, and oh my gosh, I'm in love. This isn't my favorite shadow formula of all time. I think it's a good shadow formula and significantly better than their Radioactive palette, but this is what it looks like. And I love this I feel like this is a very, very unique gradient. I know a lot of people were very like impressed by it and in awe when it first came out, because I think a lot of times, I mentioned this with the Jackie Aina palette of when you're kind of pairing different colors together, you'll do like neutral with blue or just like warm neutral, and this one kind of defies all of that. It makes it all very vivid and very bright. I love red eyeshadow. I think red eyeshadow is so flattering and it's so fun. It's very My Chemical Romance Gerard Way-ish, and I love blue eyeshadow as well, and this really encompasses a wide range of blue and teal shades. And I really appreciate too that there is a really good ratio of mattes to shimmers. There's only 3 shimmers in this whole palette, and I think that's so great because often in palettes we get like neutral mattes and colorful shimmers, and with the way that I do my makeup personally, that doesn't work for me very well. So I think that there is a good kind of ratio of textures in this, and overall I just love looking at this. I love looking at this. I love working with it. Everything about this makes me super happy. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to one where I really love the color story, but the formula is really not my favorite, and that is the Michelou Cosmetics Witchcraft palette. Now, you can't look at this color story and tell me it's not beautiful. I love these sorts of, well, it's a witchcraft palette. These are very, very witchy, dark tones, and I love them. They're so beautiful and so smoky. I recently retried this because I always had problems with the mattes ever since I got it, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it work because this is a very beautiful like color story. The mattes still aren't my favorite by any means, as in I don't use them ever, but I do really love the shimmers of this. The shimmers are kind of range from very satiny to very crumbly, so kind of take that as you will. I think if you use a glitter glue with them, it's very fine. So I really do love this color story. I think that this is one of the most unique palette color stories that I've ever seen, and it really does disappoint me that the shadow quality is so iffy, and also that the brand is like kind of sketchy because they've been caught in some lies and stuff, and I feel weird even putting this in a video, but I am being honest with what's in my collection, and I'm not getting rid of this ever. Even if I don't use the mattes out of this palette, honestly I would keep it for the shade Magic alone. I recently used that in combination with another palette that I am going to be showing in this video. I'm gonna swatch this. I don't know how well you can tell it, but it works even better on a glitter glue. But it's this really kind of like duochrome-y, it's like a lavender maroon kind of duochrome, and I think that's absolutely gorgeous. So I really love the shimmers, and I do like that there's kind of just that murky green purple color combination. So I really do like this palette, even if, you know, I've definitely talked about the matte shadows in therapy before because they're so difficult. I think that this is overall one of the prettiest color stories that I own. Okay, we now have 5 left. Oh, I picked out 10 exactly. I wasn't trying to like go for a specific number. I just like picked out the ones that I wanted, and now I have 10. That's so nice. Okay, I'm gonna go with the last of my larger palettes and then go for my minis. The last big palette that I love is the ColourPop Good Sport palette. Now I don't know if this one exists anymore on ColourPop's website, but if it does, pick it the heck up. So this is kind of my first introduction into ColourPop's eyeshadows, and this has really cemented for me that I love ColourPop's formula, even if most of their color stories don't particularly appeal to me. But if they made more like this, would own a lot more of their palettes. So if you look at this one is very earthy and autumnal, which is generally what I go for, but it's really nice because it does have a couple of pops of purple, which really I think are so lovely. And I love it because, yeah, there's like a little bit of like a warm neutral element to it, but overall you can really combine a lot of these shades to do like, I love kind of the sunset-y effect of like this kind of area up here. I love a good sunset eye. I love the shade Ebb right here. I think that pairs very nicely with the purple tones in it, as well as, you know, some of the more greeny neutrals, because this is kind of a grayish green right here. So you can go, while this palette overall leans a bit more warm, you can go for a very like interesting kind of cool tone look using like the bottom row. So overall, I think this is one of the most unique color stories that ColourPop has ever come out with. And like, I love objectively what they're doing with the monochromatic palettes and stuff, but I feel like they need more palettes like this with a little bit more variety and a little bit more of a curated color story rather than just like a bunch of neutrals. ColourPop come out with more stuff like this because this is gorgeous. Okay, now I have 4 little mini palettes. I'm gonna go with my favorite. I don't know if this is my favorite. This is one of my favorite color stories, and that is the Viseart Dark Edit palette. And yes, this is tiny. And yes, this is expensive. Do I recommend it? Yeah, and I feel absolutely weird recommending it because it is so expensive, but I think this like little curated color story is one of the best miniature palettes that I've ever invested in. What I've said about the Subculture palette, this goes with just about every like look that I do in my wardrobe as far as my clothes go. I love earth tones. How many times in this video can I say I love earth tones? Because the answer is a lot. I really love that you can get like, you have the nice warm neutrals up top, and then you have a row of like some more interesting kind of matte shades. So you have a couple purples in the middle. There's that olive green and this kind of, it's a matte black, but it definitely pulls like slightly navy blue when you swatch it, and I think that's really cool because I love the good like black blue shade. And then what is kind of the crowning jewel for this for me is this little row of shimmers right here. And I know they don't look like much and people have mixed feelings about Viseart shimmers, but I think these shimmers pair so nicely with the top 2 rows. But I look at this and I feel so inspired. I feel like there's so much I could do. Like you can get a couple of like cute little monochromatic looks. Like you can use the warm tone neutrals with like the orange down here. Or you can do like a monochromatic purple or monochromatic like olive green. Or you can mix it up and do something like I did a look a few months ago or like a month ago where I paired the purple mattes with the green shimmer and it looked really good. I love a good purple green combination. So yeah, this one is small, but she is mighty, my friends. Okay, this next one is one that I love to look at. I don't use it as often as I would like, but I feel like I desperately need to mention it because it is so beautiful. And this is the Igneous Cosmetics Deep Blue palette. Sadly, this isn't in stock anymore. I think they might still have some of these shades as singles, but I love Igneous Cosmetics shadows. I have this and I have their Go Green collection. I love their Go Green collection, but this one I think has the best color story out of all of the ones that I own. So this one is a little bit more on the pastel side. This one is definitely very like cool tone pastel colors. It has 2 mattes and 4 shimmers, and I especially love this little periwinkle up here and kind of pairing it with the blue or kind of putting all of the purples together. And I think the green is very nice. When I use it, I definitely lean more towards the blues and the purples in this palette. And I think that this is such a lovely little miniature curated color story. I think they did a very good job in looking at this because I know that this was part of a collection that they did about like the ocean and the things that exist in there, hence why it's called the Deep Blue palette. And I think that this really captures a lot of the beauty that one would see in that kind of situation if one were to live in the ocean, which I won't because I can't swim and I've seen just enough of the things that live on the bottom of the ocean that I'm like, okay, really scared of that, don't want to go down there. But I think that this is beautiful to look at. Even if I don't wear it all the time on my eyes, I think that this is a lovely little pastel bluey purple color story. And if you haven't tried anything from Igneous Cosmetics, you definitely need to. Okay, now down to my last 2. The next one I'm going to talk about is the Menagerie Cosmetics Violet Ink Palette. And It's a purple palette, but I think it's a really well done purple palette, and it's a unique purple palette, and I love that about it, because even though, you know, it's all in the same color family, all of these colors are very, very distinctly different. For one, I think a lot of purple palettes usually lean towards the more pinkish red types of purples, and I think that's really lovely, but I really appreciate that this palette leans on the more bluish indigo end of purple and kind of has that one true purple in the middle, 3 hearts. This one is my favorite of them. I think it's really just gorgeous. I used that shade that I swatched from the Michelou palette. I used it in combination with this palette a couple weeks ago, and I think it was one of my favorite looks I've ever done because I love purple and I love how it looks on my eyes, and I think that this is so, like, this is a really unique way of doing purple because it leans more cool toned, but all these colors are so distinct from one another that when you put them on the eye, you can definitely tell, like, that it's not all muddied together. These are all very, like, they're very much their own colors even when you blend them together, and not in a weird way of that they won't blend, but that they blend and you see this really beautiful kind of gradient and shift between the shades. And that's what I really love about this monochromatic color story specifically. Okay, I'm running out of steam, so I'm glad I'm on my last one. And this last one is a little quad from Midas Cosmetics, and that is their Green Tea Macchiato one. This was also in my last favorites video. And I think that this is such a cute little, like, curated color story. I love Midas Cosmetics shadow formula. That's one of the things that I discovered out of trying all of these, is that their shadow formula is pretty great. And this is one of my favorite color stories that I've seen in a quad because, yes, it's a little bit more on the neutral with a pop side, but I think it all goes very well together. The shadows are very interesting. They're neutral, but they're interesting. And I think that can be sometimes very difficult to do because we often associate neutrals with being very boring. And in this case, they're really not. Like, yes, this is a warm brown eyeshadow. Revolutionary, right? Well, if you put it in combination with the other shadows in this palette, yeah, it is. It makes a really nice deepening shade if you just put short all over your eyes and then use a little bit of the barista shade like in the crease and in the outer corner just to like deepen it up. That looks really nice. You can also use it as a transition shade with long. And then there's this shade Crema here that, you know, it looks like a bronzy neutral shade, but it's a brown shadow but with like a pewtery greeny shift, and I think that just goes so lovely. I love doing a halo eye with like long on the sides and crema in the middle. It's a beautiful time. We have fun with this one. I need to stop talking because I'm very tired and I have a lot of other things that I need to get done today. But thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me. And I will see you on my next one. I hope you'll have a wonderful day. Bye!